shows. MTV raised us, you already know. Latchkey hearts and wild-eyed dreams, feral minds tearing at the seams. You say it's too much to unpack, but I see you wait, and I've got your back. Talk to me, I'm that Gen X friend. No judgment here, just truth and a Walkman blend. We screamed at the world, no one replied, but we danced through it all, yeah, we survived.
Good morning. Welcome back to that Gen X Friend podcast. Before I begin, as usual, I want to give a shout out to MB Radio, and thank you for this platform. You have no idea how grateful I am. So I'm just gonna tell you every time. Anyways, let's get to it. There's no really easy way to there's no something like a bridge I can build to sort of introduce this topic. The title of this podcast is "We Don't Need to Answer to Every Name We're Called." And you're probably like, well, I knew that already. You don't need to tell me. The reason why there's always an inciting event for me to come up, or most of the time there's an inciting event that helps me come up with these topics, or that brings these subjects to my mind. And for this one, there's no one oh, I saw this happening, blah, 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 blah. I've noticed more and more of this. Perhaps, is this a sign of that I'm getting older? I have no idea. I've noticed it more. I don't remember seeing this much of this type of behavior when I was younger. I just didn't. Especially, maybe it's because of social media, because everybody has a platform now. Everybody can broadcast whatever they want into the great unknown, right? Because the universe isn't, mysterious enough without us throwing our little 2 cents and neurotic, crazy minds into it. Are we the, I don't know, the extra flavor, the mystery, umami that's adding flavor to life? I don't know, whatever it is. But, it's not hard to find on social media at any time. People I was so offended. And sometimes it's real. And sometimes you're like, what? Say that again? Or what? And they, usually they have it on video. There's evidence. And sometimes you're like, yo, that was messed up. That was not cool, right? I can see why. I can understand why someone may have responded this way or whatever. But there are other times I'm left thinking, did I miss something? What just happened? What am I looking for? Why was this illogical from what I see? This response is illogical based on the evidence that was being shown, right? Obviously, my opinion is not the end all be all. Nobody died and made me queen. And I wouldn't want to anyways. No thanks. Give me a piece of land. I'll hide that. I'm better with that. Anyways, so obviously, like I said, my opinion of someone's illogical response with what I saw as evidence of they're like, this is why I'm justified, blah, 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 blah. Well, No, I'm not the end all be all, but there's like, you cannot, there's no proof, not even with like stringent, like we'll come through every second of every minute of what just happened, and there's nothing, right? Of course, there's always part of the public that would agree with the individuals who are posting these things or disagree, whatever. There's bell-shaped curve for everything, right? Most people follow this, and there's always outliers that, whatever, agree, disagree, feel different, or just come out of somewhere you're like, huh, I never considered that. That's weird, kind of thing. So, and I look at this, and I find myself thinking about it, because as an immigrant, when I first moved here, I no English, like and as I learned English, I began to understand what people were saying, and it just, and I used to take such great offense for all kinds of, you can be creative. You can probably think of a number of things that people might have called me or said to me, and like asked me about this and that and the other. These are like, it's not just like, oh, he was so mean to me, he called me a dummy head. I'm trying to keep it clean, guys, because if I if I said the stuff that people have said to me, like, oh my god, let's ban her, the FCC will be calling. Anyways, they're just not names, but it's just the offensive things that people will come up and ask me about, like sort of try to pigeonhole me into or whatever, right? Without knowing a darn thing about me, they can accuse me of being this, that, and other, just labels, right? For whatever reason, and and I don't discount that most people have suffered some sort of something, um, like situations I just described, right? But and it's natural, sort of a natural defense. Like if you get picked on for this, that, and other, you become more aware of it, right? You're hyper vigilant, you're looking for it. You're like, oh, you know what? In your mind, in my mind, I've prepared these. Okay, in my mind, okay, I'm not saying this is true or not. These very eloquent, very intelligent comebacks. Some were really intelligent. They just say, I don't know. And some of them were really funny or whatever. I've spent time just thinking about it, what I can say if somebody said this and that to me. But guess what? When I encounter situations like that, it was mostly reactive. I'm stumbling over my words because I don't know what to say. I'm not clever like that. Like, I think comedians, who deal with hecklers, they're really good at that. And I've always been very like, oh, kind of jealous. And like, I wish I could do that, but I can't. I don't have that talent. So, but most of my responses, like I think I was sort of trained. It's because as an immigrant, I got picked on for everything. It didn't matter. It just didn't matter. It didn't matter. You think of it, I got picked on. So I became so reactive, and it followed me because it didn't stop. It hasn't stopped. It is still ongoing. I still deal with it, right? So it's sort of this trained behavior, right? Because it is very. I was not the the peaceful kind, obviously. I'm not the pacifist. Like I was not raised up like that. My parents were very like they took offense to everything. So, from my home environment to my grown up environment, I learned, I was trained, and I trained myself on being reactive. And I will go back later and be like, oh, you're so dumb. You should have said this and that and the other, whatever. It never worked. I was so reactive in a way that it didn't feel good, but that sort of, I became addicted to that, the rush of it. And the majority of the time when I was reactive, no good came of it. I didn't win any prizes when I thought that I had, I don't know, found some justice in my response, verbally. I never won any, like, you're like, oh, wow, look at this. I said this and all of a sudden I feel great. I didn't. My adrenaline was up. My heart was pounding. I was, low key ready to freaking pass out. All kinds of stuff. But nonetheless, it's like the druggie, right? They know, sure, in a moment, in that very second, I got the adrenaline hit or whatever, dopamine hit, all those things, the cortisol, all the stuff, right? That rush. In that instant, in the instant that I chose to engage, sure, that rush felt empowering. But man, the letdown was always worse than anything I've ever experienced, right? But man, it was almost like I wanted to not only tell them that they were wrong, because they were, right? Because some of these things that happened were, you're just like, yo, that's not cool, man. But eventually, I in my description for this podcast, I did share that, eventually, as I experienced more and more and more, right? Not that I wanted to be offended or whatever, or felt good to be confronted in that way. It was the high that I was chasing. I almost passively welcomed it, because I was, from handling these name calling things. I forgot the rhyme that we used to say, something like, it bounces back onto you because I'm gum and you're glue, or whatever. I forgot that little rhyme we used to say to make ourselves feel better when somebody lobbed some bull crap at us, right? So it wasn't like that. Like, it did hurt. It hurt me. Some of the stuff that have been said to me, and sometimes even now, still hurt me to the point where in order to feel okay in a moment, in that instant, to find balance, right? Not to be completely crushed, like a big old wave that just hits you, like, I got knocked down and I couldn't get up. I think most people's first response, reaction, which is natural, right? I do think it's natural, because we are meant to self-preserve, right? But this is sort of a mental battle where I wanted to get back up to show that I wasn't knocked down so badly that any sort of, I would have done anything, like, to have that rush so I can get back up. And sometimes I did it needlessly, because I perceived some things. I have no doubt that I have reacted badly, or just like without thinking, to something that was perceived. That does not negate the fact that lots of things that are said to me are real and that are meant to be hurtful. They're looking for a trigger. You can see in their eyes. You can see it in their, You can hear in their tone, whatever. This is not denying the real things that do happen, right? However, there's always a chance. I don't believe I'm the only one. If I am, so be it. There's always a chance that I'm not unwilling to be honest and say, be like, hey, yeah, I probably perceive some of this stuff because I'm so used to hearing it and looking for it that I was looking for it when it wasn't even there. Because I do believe there is a saying, if you look for it, if you look for something, you're going to find it. And I'm sure I found what I was looking for, even when I was not there. Obviously, or I wear glasses, but this is like psychologically speaking, because we can conjure up all sorts of things in our own heads to get offended about, to become offended about, and then to justify our need to express our righteous anger, right? But that anger could have been triggered by something else, because in the past I've talked about in past podcasts that we carry things like from one situation to another, sometimes unconsciously, right? And perhaps, not perhaps, I'm sure of it. I'm sure it has happened that I felt wrong, or I felt weird about something, or something happened. It doesn't matter, right? But I was carrying that frustration from a previous or whatever issue that I was dealing before. And it just happens to be that, oh, the right conditions were here for a storm. And I was going to look for whatever I was going to look for, because I was angry because I didn't get to express myself, or, process whatever I needed to process. And I had this thing stuck in me, and I was going to look for whatever, real or perceived, something, behavior, labels, somebody called me something or looked at me funny and blah, 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 blah. I was going to perceive it the way I was going to perceive it to justify this need to explode with my righteous anger, just to get that out. Misdirected, yes. Uncalled for, most likely, but I have done it. And I have passively welcomed certain irritations in my life so I can unload whatever pressure that was already in my mind, right? Like, it's like the pressure cooker. The pressure's brewing, it's going. You're gonna have to loosen that valve, right? For whatever it. And sometimes, psychologically speaking, we do that by creating certain situations, or using real situations to react in a way that offsets the pressure. And the pressure can be anything, life, right? So, I don't think I say all this, and it's not because I think we should all be, sitting there just taking it, because, yeah, we do have to stand up for ourselves, logically, right? Because we do teach how people treat us. But when I think of it, sometimes, or most of the times, I really do think in today's culture that most of us are finding offense, whether real or perceived. I have to keep saying that, because some are real, some are perceived. I should have put created, and some are just created here for whatever reason, right? It is from an external world, from people, situations that have nothing, that have really no consequence in our lives. And it's easier. It is absolutely easier to react righteously and justifiably when we when the situation is real, when we perceive it, because when we perceive it, oh, it's real, right? And when we create it, of course, we want it to be real. So when we say, oh, I'm responding righteously, you should not be doing this, you should not be doing that, blah blah blah, you shouldn't call me this, you shouldn't look at me that way. And because it's easier to explode on people you don't know about, right? Because you can walk away pending, I'm just saying verbally, right? If nobody escalates. But in today's world, we all know how that goes. But it's definitely easier to be completely crazed in behavior to somebody we don't know. Because why do I care? You go your way, I go my way, and it's done. I had the opportunity to let go of some frustrations using you as the, I don't know, as the target. I don't have to deal with you later. And most often we don't sort of take a step back, like introspectively, like, where did that come from? Why did I do that? Or just process any of this stuff. Step back, right? And to process it. It's, maybe this is me. I don't know if anybody else is like this, but it is harder to deal with people who are like in our lives, that we have to have them around, like family, right? Sure, you can cut them off, but how many people do? And there are some people you can't cut off. And there's like work environments and whatever. It's the things that we experience within those very more intimate relationships that causes this sort of pressure cooker event that we refuse to deal with, because man, that means we actually have to sit down, we have to deal with it, we have to manage the like confronting this person, this event or whatever, and then during and after. There's no sort of escaping it, right? So I think that's why I see so many this is just my opinion. Like I said, I am not the end all be all, but it is my opinion that because a large portion of our population are not actually managing, it could be with ourselves. The issue could be with ourselves, that we're not wanting to manage. And it's easy, right, to use opportunity, whether real or perceived, because there are people out there who really just want to hurt you, like call you names or whatever. I'm not talking about violence, like the violence we see, physical violence. I'm just saying people want to come up and just offend you, just to see you step back, like, did this really just happen? Was I just called that? Did you just really say this to me? The shock, the awe, the like, holy crap, I don't know what to do with this, or they want to see this, right? There are people out there like that. And so when we have this build up pressure and it needs to be relieved and the situation's there, or maybe you made this up, or because somebody didn't mean it, but you took it as that. Really, it does. I'm going to say this very carefully. What we perceive real in our minds are real to a degree, okay? You can step back and be like, oh my God, to a degree, maybe within that instant, it can feel real. But if we took a step back, we might be able to readjust and say, oh, that was not what I expected. So what I'm trying to say is that, I wonder how many times I've responded badly, real or not, perceived or not, create my self-creation or not. I became reactive because of other things. Or it could have been just that. right? Because they call me a name. But man, I wasted the energy that I wasted. Just say it was in the moment. It wasn't because, and it was real, right? Like somebody called me. You can see, obviously, I'm Asian. You can think of all the names, labels, whatever you can. Somebody hauled off and called me that. I've had people call me that. Or whatever you can think of, most likely. And I'm like, in the moment. I don't know these people. They don't know me from a can of paint. I don't know them from a bucket of poo. Right? And they just do this. And I am reactive in the moment because I just found it so offensive because it was. And I act to defend myself, because I was right. The righteous anger justified whatever I could have said in the moment. Most of the time I'm not creative. Most of the time I just sound like a fool. But there have been times that I've actually said something like, oh, did I come up with that? But how much time? That rush of adrenaline, right? The energy that I gave them. And these people, that situation was of no consequence to my life, in my life. Did it help me? No. Is it going to make my life better? It was uncomfortable and it was hurtful in the moment, but I was the fool. Not because what they did was right. I was the fool to give such people, such situations, my precious time and energy, right? Because I needed to, I don't know, to right the situation, justify myself, right? If you need to stand, I'm not saying just lay there and have people trample all over you. That's not what I'm saying. But when we argue with fools, we are the bigger fool. And this is not an easy lesson for me. Most of the stuff I talk about is because I'm trying to learn these lessons. Man, they're not easy. They are no fun. So, and more as I've been watching these reactions, reaction videos, or people who are just filming themselves on TikTok, Facebook, or whatever platform you got. They are going up to people for the sole purpose is to offend and elicit a reaction, right? To trigger, making you look like a fool, making me, nobody's filmed me, but I'm saying people do that in real life. They don't have to film you, but their sole purpose is to trigger that out of us. By the names they call us, by the labels they try to put us, by whatever. They can point at you like, oh my God, you look so old, you look disgusting. So it's not just like one word names, but just the whole slew of all the colorful, lazy, creative things that they can say to you to trigger you into giving them. Maybe that's their drug, is to see you get angry, see me get angry, and they get some satisfaction out of it. But our response, our need to then respond with kind, is our drug that we need, that adrenaline, that need to let the pressure off, right? We're sort of the same, the other side of the same coin, right? I'm not saying that we weren't wrong, but if we see that, why even give them any energy? Like, if somebody calls me like, oh my God, you're so old. Like, I'm like, look at your hair. Like, oh my God, you need to wear makeup because you just look tired and gross and whatever. um, sure, it probably hurt my feelings pretty good. But if there already are these people of consequence, most people who know me wouldn't say that to me, and they have tried. And I have some people who have tried, and I have my words with them. But anyways, but if these people are of no consequence to me and they can say whatever, be like, cool. Me giving them my precious time, my energy, now looks so foolish when I look back on my reactive ways and how I try to I don't know, right or wrong, where really by walking away it is actually the best answer, because you're just like, who are you? I'm not even giving, you are not even worth my time. That's much in my mind now that I sit one day older, that I think, okay, do I need to give them my time? No. Do I need to answer to every name they call me? No. Because if you call me Maria, just say that, because it's not my name, right? You can call me that all day, but I ain't gonna answer. Why would I answer to something like that? So yes, obviously being called it, like somebody called you the B or the C, you know what I'm saying? Might hurt a little bit more than be called Maria, which is not your name or my name, but they are just as arbitrary as being called Maria. Why do we need to answer to everything? If that's not you, because I'm not going to answer to Maria, I can just now quickly move on with my day instead of triggering this whole body reaction where, I'm getting hot on the collar and, my heart is jumping out of my chest, just so I can be stumbling over my words, trying to tell you how you are so wrong, and then still feeling like I sounded stupid, and then I have to function after the situation has resolved and I'm crashing off of that sort of adrenaline rush, right? I just don't think it's worth it. I'm not saying that I'm going to be able to completely follow my own advice, but at least now I'm aware of it. I don't have to be. I don't have to answer to everything. Okay? You call me old? You're right. You call me Maria? That's not my name. You call me some other thing, like the B word, the C word, like, okay. That's not me. Obviously, there are some times that I will be the B or the C word. But that takes introspection, okay? Then that's when we have to sit back and listen, was I one? But in the moment, we don't need to respond. If you don't feel like that was you, why respond? That is literally like answering to Maria when your name is, I don't know, Karen, William. I don't know. Now I can't come up with any names except for those two for some reason. So it would be just as odd if you answer to these things that are not you. So yeah, they called you that, but if you don't answer to it, then it's not you. You don't have to feel bad. You don't have to feel emotional. Like, what an idiot. You can think that, right? You don't have to be completely neutral. I'm not asking you to be like this, I don't know, meditation warrior, like nothing bothers me. I don't know if anybody can do that, because that means you're not human. If anybody says that, nothing bothers me, they're lying. Yeah, they're lying. There's no possible way. There are things bothering them. They may be able to work it out logically, but yeah, no. I'm not asking to be not human. I'm just asking all of us to, yeah, to not have to feel like we need to answer to everything everybody calls us. Maybe. And I do believe I'm preaching to the choir who understand this perspective. It is, however, it's not easy to control. But so when you find yourself in that, when we find ourselves in those situations later on, and it's going to come around, it's coming around, people. It always does. Maybe just shrug our shoulders, like, well, that's not me. Why would I answer to that? And maybe you can help some other people. I don't know, because there are some people who really just love to create situations and poke the bear or like to be poked or whatever. And maybe we'll see a lot less of this, like clips in social media that are trying to provoke this whatever reaction, a visceral reaction out of people, right? Because if there's no response, it's like, because if you poke somebody, right, they're like, like they're so boring. You ain't getting nothing out of it. You're like, this is not entertaining at all. Moving on. They just move on. Maybe we can decrease these videos. That I know. There's so many things that can bring about this reaction. I just can't I can't mention them all. But the message today is that we don't have to at all answer to all the things we are called. There's no need, unless it is pertinent, unless it is of consequence for our lives, for our relationships, for whatever. If a care is important, sure. But take a second, take a breath before this automatic reflex to react in this, like, I am right in, righting you're wrong. Because most often when we're filled with that sort of rush, we're not thinking clearly anyways. Take a step back. I know it does feel good. I do know that. That's what I got very addicted to. Feel good to catch them in a moment and slap them down like comedians with hecklers. But if they are of any consequence in your life, you will have plenty of opportunities to do it, to talk to them, to rectify the situation, to sit down and, I don't know, discuss it like mature people. And on the other side, if they are of no consequence to you, why waste your time? Go about your day. I don't know, go for a walk. Do something you like and just put them out of your mind, because they're just, meh. Let them go bother somebody else. Let them go bother themselves, wondering why they couldn't get to you, because you're bigger than them. They are in their heads, because they are who they are. And we don't need to go into describing them. But I don't know. That's what I wanted to share, because I am one of those people. I'm one of those people that, man, have lived most of my life sort of in a reactionary sort of way, because I wanted to justify myself in real situations, in perceived situations, or created situations for my own satisfaction. And today, like I say, one day older, I wish I would have spent my time better and used my energy on things that are worth it. And so learn from me. I don't know how y'all, how old everybody is, but, you know, I'll always share what I'm learning. And what I'm learning is that I'm not Maria. And, you know, that's just an example. I'm not going to answer to everything I'm going to be called. Because, heck, last week's podcast is one more day is actually one day less. Yeah, I'm gonna find a will here to use my time better instead of reacting needlessly, impulsively to things that really don't matter. And if they did matter, there will be opportunities to correct it anyways. So, I don't know. I hope this made sense. So, until 2 weeks from now, I do pray for you guys all the time. And I think about you guys all the time. I hope you're doing well. And keep praying. Keep praying. Talk to God about it, right? I do. So until 2 weeks from now, have a great day.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.